Hi, I'm Wendy Loie Sloan, and this is What's Up with Wendy. I began my career in New York City as a TV producer for talk show legends, and for the last decade, I've used those experiences to create my unique style in interviewing hundreds of A-list celebrities, newsmakers, comedians, musicians, reality stars, fitness and nutrition experts, best-selling authors, and more. Coming up is an interview from one of my Best Of series featuring a memoir from Annette Ross, who recounts the harrowing and life-altering medical error that left her unable to walk. Annette is a mother of 5. She's also my friend. Her memoir, Where Fairy Tales Go, a Love Story. You won't want to miss this. And if you like this episode, I hope you'll share it with friends and subscribe now in your favorite app so that you don't miss upcoming episodes. Today, I'm joined for this special hour with my friend and former New Canaan resident, Annette Ross. Annette is the mom of 5 beautiful girls, aging in range from 18 years old to 3 years old. Along with Annette today is her husband, Bill. Bill grew up in New Canaan and was the captain of the high school football team at New Canaan High School. I didn't know that he was the captain of the high school football team. And they've been married since 1995. Today, Annette, with Bill alongside of her, joins me to share her personal challenges, financial struggles, and the life-altering medical condition that left her unable to walk. Please join Annette and her family on this journey to reclaim a lost fairy tale told by Annette in her first book ever, out today. It's called Where Fairy Tales Go, a Love Story. My sweet and beautiful friend, Annette, your book took my breath away. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Wendy.
How does it feel to be back? So happy to have you back and have you here, sitting across me and looking at your beautiful face.
Oh, and I'm looking at yours and your hair.
The hair.
Which I'm coveting at the moment.
The hair.
You know, it's beautiful to be back. The trees. There's not a lot of trees in San Diego. There's not so much green. It's so lush. But it's hard to be back, too. We drove past some of our old houses, and Bill's always like, don't look, don't look. But I have to look and remember and take in that we had all of our babies here and that I have all these lovely friends here. And so it's sort of bittersweet, I guess.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? They always say home is where the heart is. And your heart is bigger than anyone I know. Truly.
Oh.
Truly. So I spent this week reading your book. And from start to finish, I was able to share your journey from your childhood to being adopted, your mom and your dad. Your dad really...
Yeah.
I'm going to cry looking at you because I didn't realize we shared so much of the same. My dad's my heart and soul, and I know your dad, and I know he's like here with you forever. So that really like bonded me even closer to you. Your 5 daughters, meeting and falling in love with Bill, and your personal challenges, struggles, and life. Life is not always perfect. So Where Fairy Tales is, I'm all choked up now. I can't even concentrate. Where Fairy Tales Go, a Love Story. Annette, why this book and why now?
Well, I think I would have never really written a book, to be honest with you. I didn't really want to write a book about my injury because I found that to be sort of sad, and I didn't really want to write a book about rehabilitation and that kind of thing. But once we moved to California, I fell out of a doorway and broke my leg. And it was my femur, and I was sort of all, back into a bigger wheelchair, and, my legs straight out, and I had this little tiny 2-month-old baby, and I was so angry, Wendy. I was like, I have to write something. I have to purge my feelings.
And this was when?
This was when, 2014.
Okay.
So we'd been in San Diego for 1 year, and it was a hard year. So actually, Georgia was a little bit older. I'm sorry. We got there when she was 2 months old. And we lived there for 1 year, and then we were looking at another rental, going to move again. 5 times in 5 years we moved.
Right.
And then it was hard. I wasn't really good at setting up home because that was really disturbing me. Where is my home, my stuff? So I had this broken leg. I fell out of the wheelchair coming out of looking at another place we might live. And I knew right away it was broken. It was really, really painful. Some of the worst pain I've ever felt, and I think because my nerves aren't right in my legs, too, so it was even maybe more so.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in this big cast and going through, having Bill really help me a lot again. Georgia was sort of running around, but I don't know if she was walking great yet. And I started purging all my feelings. I started writing them. And I thought, I think I'm going to really write about home. I didn't really still want to talk about the injury. I'm going to write about home. And how I don't have one, and how I need to find one, and how I'm like Dorothy, and I need to stabilize myself.
Right.
And for me, that was really, I think, being adopted And see, the thing is, everyone's different. So I'm not saying, I always feel like, my life isn't harder than anyone else's. This was just my personal thing.
This is your journey.
Right. This was my thing. My thing was I was adopted, and I sort of wanted to root in somewhere. And I think when I met Bill, I thought I was really just going to root in. And then we came to New Canaan, I'm going to really root in, once I adjusted to leaving Chicago. And sort of moving around was tough on me. And that's really what I started writing about. I'd go through the garage in my cast, and I saw all the broken furniture from our house, because a lot of it, some of it had broken on the way. Some of it we had to leave behind, some of it was broken. And I'm like, I'm going to write a book about the furniture, and I'm going to call it Broken Furniture, and I'm going to fix all of these pieces, and they're going to go back in a house one day. I mean, literally, I was like just becoming one of those crazy people,
right? Us moms all get there at some point, right?
So, yes, I think that was, it sounds, I'm just being totally honest. That's really where it started. I started really writing about my feelings about moving and how much I missed home, how I wanted to be home. And that meant for me New Canaan, and I think maybe it didn't mean Chicago, even though my father was there. It meant New Canaan because I had all my girls there.
It was your girls were born here.
Yeah.
Your friends are here. It's like so that becomes, that's your home, that's your roots.
Right, and that's where sort of Bill had his dream. I'll never forget in Chicago, we were going to stay in Chicago. We got married there, and it was a lovely time, like a time that's untouched by anything sorrowful, beautiful. Really, the happiest time of my life. I mean, I didn't know when that was going to be the pinnacle of my life.
Amazing, right?
But you don't know when things are going to change so much. But Bill wanted to move to New Canaan, and I was like, Dad, should I move? And he's like, if you follow Bill, you'll always be happy. I go, Dad, that is so old-fashioned. What is up with that kind of a comment to me? That is so like, come on. He's like, no, Annette, I think if you follow him, you'll always be happy. So go and be happy. You're in love. And I said, okay, Dad. I go, you want me to leave Chicago? So I did. I followed Bill, and I was so happy. I mean, Bill couldn't have had a foreshadowing that I was going to get hurt in New Canaan. But it's funny, that's when everything changed for him. That's when the dream for him in New Canaan really got sour. I didn't even realize it. Maybe he didn't fully realize it, because I was still like, I'm hurt, but we're going to get it back. I'm going to walk, and that's going to be fine, and we're going to make this work. But, I think it soured for him, and that sourness really took a toll on him. That was over time, not very quickly. We were still okay to start. We were still actually really good.
Okay, so take us back to January 2000, almost 17 years ago.
Oh, gee, Wendy.
I know.
When you put it that way, wow. I think I'm really never going to walk again.
No. You will. I will walk again. I will walk again, and you're going to keep telling yourself that. I will walk again.
I know people say you need to sort of do that for your mental. So I was pregnant with Anna, and we had Natalie. And we moved into a beautiful home that Bill picked out and found and said, Annette, you've got to see this place, and it's lovely, and all these trees, and I don't know. I had never seen anything so beautiful. And because it was Bill, and because I was in love, and because I thought at that point in my life,
your dad said follow Bill, you'll
everything
be
happy, is possible.
Right?
No, seriously, I was still in that mode.
Right.
That I couldn't even imagine anything. It was sort of like I met, sort of why I called it Where Fairy Tales Go, like I met the man of my dreams, and that's it. It's all going to be beautiful.
Right.
So I had Natalie, and Natalie was a really sweet little girl, and I was adjusting fine to being a mom, and Bill found this house, and we moved into it, and I was pregnant with Anna. The day we moved in, we were standing on the lawn, and I said to Bill, I have something to tell you. And he's like, what? I go, we're going to have another baby. And and you could smell the lilac trees in bloom. It was just a moment in the yard, You
remember it
vividly. I remember the smell of the lilac trees, and standing there thinking, it's all going to happen. It's going to be beautiful.
Your fairy tale.
Like it was happening, And so my parents actually moved to New Canaan, and because they wanted to be close to me, and I wanted to take care of them in their old age, which was such a gift to me. Because 6 months later, that night, my water breaks and game is on, and we're going to go give birth. And my parents stayed with Natalie that night, and, I didn't come home. Well, do you really want to go into what happened at the hospital?
Oh, no.
Sorry.
You shared,
Sorry.
It's your story.
Well, just briefly I'll say, we didn't really know everything that happened then because it was revealed over time.
Right.
But
you knew.
It was late.
You knew.
Yeah. I had a shock that went down simultaneously down both my legs, sort of jolted me off the table. it was like a electrical shock, and it was severe. And then instead of labor pains, which did sort of subside, I felt like this burning, screaming, and I was complaining, and that's documented, like, about my legs, like,
very much so, yes.
Yeah, and the nurses came in, what's going on, I'm being histrionic, that was actually the word they used, and of course I'm giving birth, but I had Anna, and it was so different than Natalie, because I knew something was wrong, so it wasn't like that same joy, but I'm like, I don't know.
Something doesn't feel right.
I'm still breathing, though, I'm still alive, here's the baby, she's good, we should be joyful. But I just felt like something wasn't right. And it was pretty quickly after Natalie that I got up again or could feel my legs again. And something was registering with me. They weren't really listening to me. Then they realized that, like, I hadn't gone to the bathroom. And then they, like, looked at my bladder and looked really distended. They're like, we think you're having a problem. I'm like, yeah, I think it's my legs. They're like, no, we think it's something else. And then they catheterized me, and it was like huge, just so much. They realized something wasn't right, but then they took me into an MRI, and everybody missed it on the MRI. And it was like one of those things where all of those things that can go wrong, go wrong.
And you were like on a circle, but you knew that your body did not feel right.
And I told my father, I told Bill. He actually said, I'm going to go see my dad for breakfast, because then it was morning. And I said, please don't leave. He's like, Annette, I think you're okay. I think at that point Bill still thought I was. Like, he was listening to me. It wasn't that he didn't. He always listened to me. But I let him go, and then I called him, and I said, no, something is seriously wrong. And the nurses were sort of like, we'll give you Valium,
Did you just want to, like, I'm feeling you right now, and I'm like, didn't you just want to say, hello? Yeah. Like, something's wrong.
Right, I'm still not walking. Oh, you'll be walking by morning. And this will all be, I'm like, no. And then I'll never forget, they sent in the neurosurgeon, who actually missed it on the MRI, that there was a really serious problem. And they came in and they did this like thing with my foot, like they took a metal instrument and they like put it at my foot to see how my foot would react.
Right.
And then they looked at each other and looked at me and left the room. And I'm like, oh no, something is really wrong. I know I was right, but of course I didn't know what it was. Right. And they're saying it's fine, but I knew it wasn't fine. Then they took me back in and got a neurologist. And the neurologist came to my bed, and I saw the radiologist on the way out, and I go, did you find something? And he's like, he shook his head, yes, and I'm like, thank God, this is over. They're just going to fix it, and let's get on with it.
Right. Let me get my baby, let me get back to my home.
Right, this is just, But then he shook his head, and I was still thinking it was fine. Then the neurologist came in, and she sat down at the bed, and she said, you've had a spinal cord injury. And I was like, I don't know, what are you talking about?
Fix it. Right.
Great. So now we know, and she says, we're going to transfer you to another hospital, and we have to leave the baby here. And it was just a lot to process. Actually, I don't think I processed it. And I don't think that you do process things like that for years. I think that you're in that mode where you're going to get through it, and your body just goes into that gear, and I'm going to get through the situation, and everything's going to be fine, and I'm strong, and, but it was years later that I cried that Anna couldn't come home with me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, in that moment, I was more like, what the hell's going on? I was in shock.
Right. So you're here, you have a brand new baby.
Yeah.
You have another baby at home.
Yeah, it's just
and then you're being transferred somewhere else.
To Yale.
And your whole life is, you're just...
Yeah.
You're kind of going through it, but you don't realize what you're going through, but you're doing it. The motions are happening.
And I was just like, well, what happened? I got a spinal cord injury from what? I mean... Clearly, I thought it was something with the epidural, but didn't really know what. And they didn't know either. No one could really figure it out, especially in the beginning. They were just like, well, we're going to not deal with how it happened, but it's happened. We're going to try to help you now and give you steroids. But anyway, it was, then I was at Yale for a month. And finally, after like 2 days, they let Anna come up, thank God, and they let her stay in the room with me. They made a lot of accommodations for me. They were wonderful there, actually. The nurses took excellent care of me. And I feel like I say in my book, I remember I was writing and thinking, I'm saying that I cry a lot. I cried a lot. I'm like, was I hormonal? I just kept on crying, and I didn't even know, like, I think it was just, I didn't know what happened. Right. And I didn't know my baby and my life, and I couldn't breastfeed because, I had so much steroids I had to pump and dump. And I couldn't really bond with her because there were so many, the baby was there then, but there were so many people coming in and out trying to figure out scratching their heads with their, clipboards, what's happened to this woman. It was surreal, But at night I held Anna.
And that was your time.
My time
You talk about that in the book.
I do,
too.
because it was really important. I wanted her to know me the way Natalie did. Of course, the thing is, when you